In Chapter 1, Harry Dresden returns to his wrecked apartment trashed by his half-brother Thomas, a white court vampire. Thomas, jobless again, had brought home a stranger, ignored responsibilities, and left Harry frustrated. After a fight, Thomas storms out. Later, Murphy arrives, asking Harry to water her plants while she takes a vacation, with Kincaid, the mercenary assassin. Harry is angry and jealous, but agrees. That night, Harry finds a manila envelope with photos of Murphy killing a Renfield during their raid on Mavra's lair, evidence that could ruin Murphy's career. The envelope also contains a lock of Murphy's hair and a note from Mavra demanding a meeting that night under a truce. Harry realizes Mavra is blackmailing him with both the photos and the hair, which she could use for dark magic. Knowing Murphy's life is at stake, Harry decides he must meet Mavra on her terms. In Chapter 2, Harry Dresden sneaks into Graceland Cemetery with Mouse to meet Mavra at his own prearranged grave. Armed and cautious, Harry waits until Mavra appears from the mist in a corpse-like form. She gives him a single demand: find the Word of Kemmler and bring it to her within 3 nights. Mavra threatens to ruin Murphy by turning over damning evidence of her killing a Renfield to the police, knowing Murphy isn't protected by the supernatural accords. If Harry refuses, Mavra claims Murphy will face legal destruction, not death. Harry realizes Mavra is forcing him into a game of blackmail with high stakes, Murphy's life and reputation, and that dark necromancy is likely involved, timed for Halloween night. After Mavra vanishes, Harry finds a photo marked with a cursed phone number, sealing Mavra's hold on him. Feeling furious, helpless, and alone, Harry accepts he must play along to protect Murphy. In Chapter 3, Harry returns home with Mouse and heads to his lab to consult Bob, the Skull, about the Word of Kemmler. Bob reveals that Kemmler was a powerful, insane necromancer responsible for atrocities like World Wars I and II, eventually killed by the full force of the White Council. Bob admits he was once Kemmler's servant and erased most of his memories of that time. When Harry forces Bob to recall Kemmler's knowledge, a dark fragment of Bob's personality emerges and nearly kills Harry before he forces it back into the skull. Afterward, Bob warns that Kemmler wrote multiple grimoires on necromancy, which the White Council tried to destroy. If a 4th book exists and falls into the hands of Kemmler's surviving disciples, it could unleash new dark wizards. Suspecting the disciples are preparing a ritual for Halloween, Harry decides to start investigating, beginning with the morgue to search for early signs of death magic. In Chapter 4, Harry visits the Chicago Forensic Institute to check for unusual deaths tied to necromancy. He brings beer to bribe Phil the guard and meets Waldo Butters, the quirky medical examiner. Butters surprises Harry with x-rays showing Harry's injuries heal without lasting marks, suggesting wizards may regenerate damage over time, explaining their longevity. Harry asks about recent suspicious deaths, but nothing matches until Butters mentions an odd case. A pedestrian, Eduardo Mendoza, hit by a car under strange circumstances. As they prepare to examine Mendoza's body, Phil, now a reanimated corpse with his throat slit, bursts in, violently smashing Butters' desk. Moments later, a man in a trench coat and fedora enters with other gray-faced men, ordering them not to harm Butters because they still need him. The sudden attack confirms Harry's fears that dark magic is already at work in Chicago, escalating the urgency of his investigation. In Chapter 5, Harry faces off with Gravane, a necromancer leading a group of reanimated corpses. Gravane tries to recruit Harry, but Harry refuses and helps Butters escape. They lock Gravane inside the morgue, but he begins trying keys to get out. Harry and Butters flee to the parking lot, only to find Butters' truck sabotaged. As they run for Harry's car, a second enemy, an old man with a shotgun, attacks. Harry blocks the shotgun blast with his shield and they escape in the Beetle. Gravane's zombies chase them, with one latching onto the car, but Harry blasts it off using a kinetic ring. They finally get away after a high-speed escape. Shaken, Harry warns Butters that knowing more could endanger him, but Butters insists on hearing the truth. Realizing Butters is already involved, Harry agrees to explain, understanding the man deserves a chance to protect himself. In Chapter 6, Harry takes Butters to safety and explains the reality of the supernatural world. He confirms that magic, vampires, necromancers, and monsters are real, and most people deny their existence out of fear. Harry explains that Gravane is a necromancer, likely a disciple of Kemmler, seeking a dangerous book of forbidden knowledge. Necromancers like Gravane can control the dead and manipulate souls, making them highly dangerous. Harry warns that while necromancers use rhythmic beats like drumming or bass